And welcome to the post-game show. I'm the coach, Dick Cox, joined by Dustin Phifer. Well, Dustin, the Panthers trying to go 3-0, ran into a buzzsaw tonight. The last game out, the Pittsburgh Steelers were embarrassed on national TV on a Thursday night game, and they reloaded. I had a feeling they were going to come in here because you don't embarrass the Steelers 2 times in a row. They had several extra days to prepare, but they just came in and dismantled the Panthers by the score of 37-19.
Yeah, you just said it. They got embarrassed last Thursday night on national TV. Well, they returned the favor tonight. Unfortunately, the Carolina Panthers were on the other end of that to take the embarrassment, and a lot of people in this building, I think even us, even though we knew the Steelers would play better, we didn't think that this was going to happen. With all the momentum the Panthers had, the way they were playing, but just laid an egg tonight in all phases of the game, Coach. It wasn't just offense, it wasn't just defense, it was special teams. Really just, I don't really know if there's one good thing you could pick out of this game tonight, and that's disappointing after a nice 2-0 start. So now, like Coach Ron Rivera said, you got to watch the tape, see where you can get better at, and this might be a wake-up call that, hey, the first 2 games were good, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's still a long season.
That's true, and I mean they were physically dominated by a very big, and I sat there and sized the guys up. The Steelers are huge. They are huge, physical, and it got to the point where Cam Newton just took a beating tonight, and Ron Rivera took him out the last 5 minutes of the game because he didn't want to see him get beat up anymore.
Yeah, I think eventually late in that fourth quarter it was the right move. The Panthers were down about 3 scores. Cam, every single play was on the ground. He was getting hit high, he was getting hit low, taking shots to those ribs, taking shots to his surgically repaired ankle. So after that, I mean, you just had to get him out of there and get ready for next week. I mean, honestly, Coach, I think I can say this, and we were worried about this at the start of the year, but the first 2 weeks, we kind of started to feel a little better. But again, that offensive line is an issue. We were worried about it in training camp. They played decent in the first 2 games, but tonight it showed. They got pressure on the Panthers every single down, whether it was a blitz, whether it was rushing 4 people. Sometimes they were 3 people and they were getting hits on Cam. And the offense just could not get anything going. And again, it's one of those nights where I really don't think I can pick out one bright spot in this game. That's how bad it was.
Benjamin might be my bright spot for tonight, though. But, I mean, I'm not making excuses because it was just a whipping tonight, though. But, I mean, you look out there, and your 2 return men, one of them is a free agent rookie, Philly Brown, and you got another guy from Walford who was off the practice squad for 2 years, returning kickoffs. They are 2 of the 3 starting wide receivers tonight, though. You look out there by the end of the game, you were down to a guy you just activated off the practice squad as your running back because Fozzie and D'Angelo did not play tonight, and then you lose Jonathan Stewart and Mike Tolbert both in the game, so you're on your 5th string running back now, or 6th string, or whatever right there. It's on down the line there, though. But it just, I mean, it was almost looking at times like you were looking at a exhibition game. These 2 teams played an exhibition game, the final exhibition game of the year, and the Panthers actually shut this team out, but no starters played in that game. But it was almost like an exhibition game roster that the Panthers at times were having to put on the field.
Yeah, it was just one of those games where once things started going downhill, they just continued downhill to big snowball, just kept going. And you said it, Coach. I mean, we're going to have to start looking at this. This is becoming a concern with these injuries. You went into the game without Cotchery. You went into the game without D'Angelo Williams. Jason Avant was questionable. Now, he played, but he didn't have an impact. Now you lose, Stewart, Tolbert, Thomas Davis pulls up with a hamstring. So these injuries are starting to add up. They're not huge, big injuries that are going to keep him out long term. But these nagging injuries are going to start adding up, especially like you said in the running back position when you're bringing guys up off the practice squad now. So you got to start looking at that. Luckily, after Rivera's press conference, he said to the side that he didn't see anything serious. So hopefully those guys can get back quick. But you got to start looking at those injuries. And then again, with the way this offensive line's playing, you might see more of those injuries. And that's something that's going to, if this team wants to go where they want to be, starting off 2-0, coming off a division title last year and wanting to do that again, they're going to have to correct those mistakes. And like we said, it's a long season. Maybe they can. And
the bad thing about it is they have to go on the road again next week and play a team that plays the exact same style of ball. And didn't they just play this team?
And dominate them.
And dominate them. So you've got to go to their house for that, though. So, maybe they learned something tonight. Maybe they learned physical football. But this looked like the Pittsburgh Steelers of the glory years tonight, the way they ran that power running game.
Expected that.
No. And Ben Roethlisberger made made the good passes when he needed to, managed the passing game with short passes, timely passes from the standpoint of getting it off quick where they could not put any pressure on him, though. But again, this looked like Pittsburgh Steeler-style football tonight.
And it did, and we have to say we're surprised. We both did say we thought the Steelers would play better, but after watching what the Steelers had on offense and defense, this is a shock to me. And maybe just the Panthers had a bad night, and maybe they'll regroup. But I did not expect the Panthers to get dominated by the Steelers football team. We talked about this before the game, Coach. The Steelers defense had given up the most missed tackles in the league, and we couldn't get any run game going against all those missed tackles. The defensive line really hadn't gotten any pressure on any quarterback the entire year. They eat Cam up all night long. So all of the things you thought you could exploit, the Steelers end up dominating, and that's just something that really surprised me. And again, maybe we just all were getting a little too excited about the 2-0 start, and we kind of get brought back down to earth here, and we got to reevaluate things again. I still think this is a good football team, and I know you do too. But it's just some mistakes that they're going to have to correct if they want to continue to get better.
Well, to me, from a coaching standpoint, I did not like the frame of mind the Panthers were in. I didn't think that I thought they were almost in a funk because mental mistakes. You gave the Steelers 2 touchdowns tonight, that you hold them on 3 downs. You've got 4th and 4 down here, and you're going to force a field goal while you're still in the game, and 2 players jump off sides when you don't even really need to be jumping off sides. It's a chip shot. The ball is going to be a 20-yard field goal, an extra point, if that. And you give them a new set of downs, and Roethlisberger throws the touchdown pass. Then you've got a rookie kick return man back there who coughs the ball up on a punt, and one of the guys who jumped off sides earlier on the 4th down play has a chance to scoop it or to fall on it and live to play another game, and tries to be a hero and scooped it and missed it, right? Scoops it right into the end zone, and the Steelers fall on it. And that is just, to me, that's unacceptable from a coaching standpoint. You cannot in the NFL make boneheaded mistakes like that and give your chance. And in both cases, the Panthers had just scored a touchdown, had gotten back in the game before that punt, were 10 down at the time, I believe, with a chance maybe to come down, still with 11 minutes to go in the game, and you pull a boneheaded play like that, and that just took the win out.
That's when you knew it was going to be that kind of night, Coach. You just said it. As bad as the Panthers played, 11 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, coming off a long touchdown to Greg Olsen. They're down 10. They just forced a 3 and out, and they're going to get good field position. Philly Brown, who had a good night until then, and made some nice plays in the receiving game, got to give him credit for that. He drops a punt, has plenty of time to pick it up, and does. And then the very first hit, he gets stripped. Then somebody, like you said, Josh Norman, tries to fall on it, can't scoop it. Steelers recover in the end zone for a touchdown. All of a sudden, you go from having 11 minutes in the game, only down 10, and your offense has been moving, to being down 17 and the game's out of reach. And it was just that kind of night. And I have 3 big things I know we're going to get into that really worry me tonight. And the first one that we can talk about, we've already mentioned, is the offensive line, Coach. It was, whether it was in the middle, whether it was on the outside, Byron Bell had penalties, got beat. Even Khalil up the middle sometimes got beat, and that's maybe communication from this new offensive line. They're going to have to correct that, because the 2 of my worries go hand in hand. It's the offensive line, but then it's Cam Newton. We already know he's kind of banged up. He's coming off ankle surgery. He limped around a lot tonight. He's got those ribs, and I know he's not going to be 100% this entire season because he's just going to be banged up. But if he even wants to consider getting close to 100%, he needs to be protected. So those 2 go hand in hand. Those are probably my 2 biggest worries of the night going into these next couple weeks.
And again, you hit the nail on the head there from a coaching standpoint too. There were so many, when the Panthers would do something good, holding, face mask penalty on the offensive line, they blew their foot off tonight. They shot it so many times, though, and absolutely no running game tonight at all. I'm thinking Jonathan Stewart I don't even think he got 35 yards tonight. I haven't seen the final stat. So, and he would have been the leading rusher though. But if you don't have any running game at all, then you look out there and, like I said, you playing Burston, you playing Philly Brown. You know, Philly Brown was your second leading receiver tonight, and this guy was an undrafted free agent that made a team. You're playing guys that probably would not be on anybody else's roster in the NFL. You're having to start them. It kind of reminded me of those days of down the road in the NBA, half a roster down there that would not have been on anybody else's team. But you're having to play and start these guys tonight just because of circumstances, and, man, that makes it tough.
And you know what's scary? You talk about that run game not getting going. Even though they're 2-1, that's been a problem the whole season.
Right.
Even in the Detroit win and the Tampa Bay win, they ran the ball okay. D'Angelo had 70 yards. In Detroit win, they didn't get the run game going, but the defense played well. Cam got going in the passing game. And tonight, once again, they can't get the run game going. And, I think D'Angelo will help once he comes back. Stewart, he does a good job of playing when he gets hit and making yards after contact, but they can't find that consistent run game. And again, whether it's running or passing, that falls back on the offensive line. And I'm very concerned about that. I know they kind of made it look better the first 2 weeks, but over a long season, if you want your Pro Bowl quarterback to stay healthy, who's already got some nagging injuries, you're going to have to find a way to protect better. And I think that's the number one thing they're going to have to look at in this game. And again, like you said, they're going to play another AFC North physical team who has just as good as front seven as Pittsburgh does. So they better watch that tape, and they better find some ways to correct some of these mistakes heading into next Sunday.
And we continue on from there. You come back home and you play a physical Bears team, and then you turn around and have to play Cincinnati, another team that's 3-0 right now, who's the best, that team out of that division right there, though. So, it's gut check time right now. And no, the sky's not falling.
No.
But we're just trying to call it like we see it tonight, though. Very disappointing night at Bank of America Stadium because you had a great atmosphere. You had the towels tonight, a great atmosphere for TV. And again, the Panthers did not take care of business with opportunities early in the game. And again, like you said, just throughout the whole game, just continue to shoot himself in the foot.
Well, like you said, the sky's not falling, Coach. 2-1 is still a good start compared to the last 3 years.
Being 0-3.
2-1 is a great start. I mean, I'm not like I promise you, I'm not making this up. I saw people on Twitter saying after this game to fire Ron Rivera. Let's calm down, people. We're 2-1. We lost. The Steelers are still a decent football team. 2-1. We beat a Lions team we thought we might struggle with last week. So it's still a good start to the season. You still got a chance. You're still first in the division, tied with Atlanta. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. The sky is not falling. We got plenty of football left, and this team's still in a good spot if they can correct their mistakes. I do want to say, Coach, one thing on all of our postgame shows we haven't talked about, that we've talked about off camera a lot in the press box when it comes to that offense, is this two tight end set. You were down at Spartanburg the whole time, and they talked about two tight ends. Dixon looks good, goes with Olsen. Brandon Williams making catches. And yes, Dixon was on the field a lot tonight with Olsen, but he hasn't caught a ball all year in 3 games. And remember, when Cam had his big passing year, they were going Olsen and Shockey. So where has that been, and will we see it?
That's the mystery right there. I mean, I don't know what the deal is, whether, Cam is not getting to that option on his reads. He may not have time. Yeah. I mean, you got Benjamin and Olsen probably are his first two options right there, and he may not get to him right there, though. But, again, you have got to, with the situation you're in right now, you didn't have a very deep receiving core to start with, and you got injuries in it now, then you've got to look to your veteran tight ends as being guys. And I mean, you can flex them out. We saw times that Dixon had flexed out tonight. Yeah. We saw times he was open and he didn't get the read for that guy right there. And again, it goes back to the offensive line. If Cam does not have time to find the other tight end, I'm sure he's looking for Olsen first. But if he doesn't have time to find the other guy, then he can't throw it to him.
You're exactly right. And that's something that maybe they'll try to work on. And like you said, Coach, it wasn't just Cam getting sacked tonight. It was Cam taking some big-time hits. So, we're harping on the offensive line, but that's probably the biggest concern we can take away from the night. And, I'm sure we're going to get into the next week when they head to Baltimore, a pretty big storyline to go with this Panthers game. And maybe that'll fire them up, and maybe they'll be ready to go because there's been somebody in Baltimore who's been looking forward to this game for a few weeks now.
Somebody in Baltimore, a guy named Steve Smith Sr.,
right.
Calling them out, and he's been licking his chops. It's going to be interesting when they go up there. It's going to be interesting to see how this young team with a lot of young responds to adversity after getting, like we said, basically getting their butt kicked on national TV tonight, getting dominated in every phase of the game. The Steelers were the better team tonight, though. But, the good thing about this is you live to play another Sunday. They got a chance to redeem themselves by going up there and playing a team that's going to be a highly emotional game for Steve Smith. I'm going to be curious to see how long he can keep his composure.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game to watch. I mean, that storyline is going to probably just, dominate the whole week. But like you said, it's going to be a good test for them to go on the road where they played well recently, try to respond. And I think they will. I mean, we've seen Coach Ron Rivera has a good hold on this team. And when they're playing good, he's got them up. And when they're playing down, he gets them to correct those mistakes and come out and play hard. So I look forward to them being in this game next week. having a chance to win on the road. Steve Smith is going to be ready. All he is, he's talking after every touchdown he catches about he'll see us in week 4, see us in week 4. But I bet people aren't talking about that defense might be ready to take a couple shots at Steve Smith. He keeps on hearing about how he's gonna light the Panthers up. Well, maybe Kuechly and Thomas Davis and those guys are hearing that, and they're ready. They're going to be fired up to play. So I think both sides are going to be ready to go, and it's going to make for a great matchup.
There's going to be plenty of spinning balls, next week. I'll be curious to see if they spin them back at him or what they do, though. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. And, we wish Steve Smith well, at his new home up there, though. But it will be a fun game.
It will be a fun game, and I'm looking forward to it because, like you said, we live to play another day, and I'm looking forward to week 4 where we can get back on track, see what we can do, and it'll be a good chance for the Panthers to really get their momentum back on the right track, and they'll have good storylines, and maybe we can get a win and come back home 3-1 when the Bears come to town.
Well, it has passed the midnight hour here.
It's been a weird night.
In beautiful Bank of America Stadium now. The scoreboard's still lit up. You've still got everything there. We're watching on the other end as Sunday Night Football set is now being taken down. They finished their wrap-up, though, and we're about to wrap ours up.
We're about to wrap up. I think it's about time to go home and get some sleep. It's been a weird night on the field, off the field. It's just the vibe's been weird in here tonight, and maybe it just wasn't our night all around. Panthers, off the field, everything. So we'll, like you said, we'll live to play another day, and we'll bounce back here at home when the Bears come to town.
Well, we didn't know if we were going to get to play tonight, though. The 2 new guys on the gate almost didn't let us on the field, but we had somebody let us take care of business with that, though, and we're glad to get out here on the field. To film our post-game show, if we hadn't known they weren't going to let us out here originally, I'd have left an hour ago. I left in the third quarter with that, though. But we wanted to bring you this show tonight, though. But again, not a good night tonight. 37-19, the Pittsburgh Steelers dominate the Carolina Panthers. But we'll be back with you 2 weeks as the Chicago Bears, come to town.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be looking forward to getting back home. Maybe they can go up on there and get a win on the road, get to 3-1, and still be sitting pretty in this division. So, again, a lot of football left. I don't think anybody expected the Panthers to go 16-0. So let's put this loss behind us and let's move on to next week.
He's Dustin Phifer. I'm the coach, Dick Cox. Good night and have a good week, everybody.